Ba-da-da-dum. Da-da-da-dum. Da-da-da-dum.
Hey everyone.
Welcome to Stacked.
Welcome back to Stacked. Welcome back to Stacked. This is let's see here. I'm looking down at my my clipboard. Let's see, guys. This is episode 13 of Stacked. Yep. Oh yeah. Here we go. Okay. Yeah. Episode 13 is Stacked. What's up, guys? We're back. Listen, I feel like it's been quite a long week for us, you know? Longer than most, because guess what? We start classes now finally in session. These boys are back to dang old learning at Zoom University. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Before I get into anything, I should probably say I'm your host, Ethan, along with...
I'm Brandon. Hello.
And I'm Chris.
We're here. We're back for another glorious episode. Fellas, boys, gents, how was your first weeks of class, you know? Like, how was getting back into the groove of everything, Chris? Let's start with you, bud.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, this is obviously not how I think any of us thought our senior year was going to go. It's definitely been a very strange, like, turn of events lately with, you know, just switching over to a whole new way of learning and just, like, it's a lot harder to pay full attention to my classes now just because it's so much easier to get distracted and it's just, quite frankly, just not as engaging. But no, I mean, like, you know, you make the best of what you get. So that's kind of the mindset I'm in right now. And yeah, I mean, my classes so far have been really nice. Everyone's been really friendly. How about you guys?
Brandon?
Good time.
Okay.
No. No. I have had 6 classes thus far, 2 journalism, 4 film. Technically. Ugh. And it's kind of busy, but I went into the week thinking I'd drop one of them, but I don't know. I like all of my classes despite their length. It's just, like Chris said, it's very hard to pay attention, especially when it's like 3-hour classes back to back, because that's like a lot of energy devoted to like multiple classes, and then you have to think about doing homework later, and it's a mess. So
yeah, I have to make a little film about me in quarantine that's due tomorrow night that I haven't even started on. So sorry professor, if you're listening to this, don't worry, it's gonna be good. I'm gonna put some quality into it. I'm gonna put a lot of work and effort into it, so don't worry if you're listening, because I did drop the link to our podcast in that class. So let's hope that they don't listen. Let's hope we don't get any new viewers this episode. Okay,
so I can roast everyone all I want.
Yeah, go for it, bud. Brandon, give me a hot take right now. Go.
Brandon hates Kevin Conroy.
No,
I'm not gonna. That's old news.
Old news.
What's
He's already been defeated on that one. What's a new one?
TV is not cinema, fellas.
Ooh, that is a major take.
But what is TV?
TV.
Well, what is anything?
But it's not in the cinema, as they say.
What is cinema anymore? There's no movie theaters, Brandon.
So is Roma cinema? It was on Netflix.
They technically showed it at LA theaters, so yes, it's
but now it's not showing at LA theaters. There's no movie theaters aren't open right now. Well,
so our direct-to-TV
so everything is TV
cinema.
now. Everything is TV now.
Direct-to-TV movies are cinema. That's
Your
confusing.
Cinema.
I just cinema. Disregard my fucking hot take. It's terrible.
I don't even think you think that fully. I think you might have a little room to budge on that concept.
Out of your ass because you didn't think of anything.
Nope. Yeah.
All right. Enough of that. Shut up, everyone. All right, shut up. All right, guys, come on. All right. Today we have a pretty fun topic. I don't know. I'm feeling like we've been wanting to do this one for a while, and I thought now was a good time. Sort of like something nice and sweet after we got pretty nitty gritty last episode into some pretty disgusting stuff. We kind of rolled around in the mud last episodes, but now we're gonna be cheerful, and we're gonna be sharing some really really nice stuff today. Today's theme is about underrated movies, those diamonds in the rough, if you will. Boys, was it easy picking your underrated films? Because there's a lot.
It's Chris and I were discussing a little bit before you hopped on how we had longer lists this time than we were used to when we were like brainstorming what films to do. And for me, I was trying to figure out like how could I like slim down the term underrated. So I'm going to be using Rotten Tomatoes like critic and audience ratings to determine like whether or not like a movie I like has deserved praise or not. So.
Oh, okay. What about you, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, like, this was a surprisingly difficult week for me to, like, kind of condense into 3 films. But, like, as Brand said, he and I were talking about it, and I came to the realization that there's actually a pretty thin line between underrated and overlooked. And there's a distinguishment there. And that really helped me figure out, like, okay, wait, well, this film is a bit more overlooked than it is underrated, so I might save that for if we eventually do that topic. So yeah, I kind of had to like strip down what underrated means, whether that's like by critics or by culture or by regular film goers. Like, how do you quantify that?
Right.
But no, I think we got some good picks this time, and I think we're gonna have some fun talking about these movies.
Okay, well, I didn't even think about the underrated versus overlooked aspect. I think a lot of mine are actually going to be in the more overlooked category, but we'll see what happens.
You're a failure.
You're not making it to Final Stack this week.
But I picked some really good movies. This is what I just did. I just did movies that I just don't hear enough people talking about.
That's overlooked, not underrated. You fool.
I didn't know. I didn't even know that there was a difference.
And
you are done.
And Ethan's got a new
maybe,
set of movies.
Maybe I can. You know what? I can probably switch my movies right now.
Okay.
Oh.
So
You've got until. All right, let's keep the show going. But until you get your first pick, you gotta put that.
Okay, I'll go last. So
Fine.
Let's go. Let's have you go first, Chris, with your
Okay.
first pick, and then Brandon, and then I'll go last.
Okie dokie.
Oh, wait. Before we do that, let's tell you how the show works. Jesus fucking Christ. All right. Once a week, we set a topic or theme and go our separate ways to construct our own 3-film stack. Then after a week, we come back here on the podcast and share our own stacks 1 film at a time. Then at the end of the show, we will mix and match our 9 films to make the ultimate decision on what quintessential 3-film stack we are checking out of this hypothetical video store. The boys are showing their bare naked asses to me right now as I was doing that. There was some... I just saw some fucking... Chris, I hate to break it down for you, but you got a little poop on the.
Oh damn! I got it all.
Got a little poop in your colon. I hate to break it to you, but this is actually good. This is like a little inspection. Brandon, you look pretty clean. I think you could a little hairy. I don't know. Does that take a lot of stuff? Does that take a little extra wipes? Okay, asses aside, let's get into the show. So Chris, take us into your first underrated pick.
All right. Well, my first pick is a movie from 2010. Yes, the 3 of us have seen it, and I do think we all think it's a little underrated. It follows a kid named Dave Liszewski as he navigates himself through this very, very messed up comic booky world.
Oh.
It is directed by Matthew Vaughn. It's Kick-Ass.
Oh,
What is the rating?
It's yeah.
I thought it was gonna be Meet Dave.
With
I don't
Eddie
know.
Murphy.
Okay, well, yeah. So this movie was made in 2010. So it was kind of like maybe just a couple years before the whole superhero thing was gonna become like the big franchise. Like it was gonna become like the big thing of kind of to define our generation of filmgoers. And yeah, this is kind of like a random little gem in the middle of all of this craziness in the industry. It's kind of like this rated R adventure where you go along with this kid who finds himself desiring to be a superhero. And yeah, he's just like out there doing the best he can. And it's a very, very violent film. There is a lot of graphic imagery, not to a horror level, but like, compared to like what you might see in, say, an Avengers film, it is incredibly graphic. The fight scenes are very, very organic and very like grounded in this sense of reality. The weaponry is always either guns or knives or fisticuffs. So, there's very much a sense of realism here. Like, this is quite literally what it's like to want to be a superhero in our world. Feeling like you can't just because you don't have powers, but at the same time, okay. But yeah,
Hold it in, man.
but at the same time, it's a very touching story actually about like doing what's right and standing by your beliefs about what it is to be a hero. And yeah, I think it's honestly like just a really well-made movie. Like some of these scenes are just iconic to me. Like I can call back certain scenes just like at the flip of a dime. I don't know. What do you guys think about this movie?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Kick-Ass. I think it was one of the first R-rated superhero movies I've seen. And I just, yeah, it did introduce me to like the whole style of Matthew Vaughn and everything, how much of an energetic director he is, and it's a really well cast film, I should say. Aaron Taylor Johnson, he balances geeky and like kind of like the superhero hunk really well. Nicolas Cage, I think he's like he's the diamond in this movie. He's the standout because he does a brilliant like Adam West type impression, but also mixed with like sort of like a Christopher Nolan Batman kind of thing. It's like it's super weird to put those two kinds of characters together, but Nicolas Cage pulls it off really well. And this movie also introduced the world to Chloe Grace Moretz as Hit Girl, and the action scenes that she's in they're badass. The action scene where it goes into the first person with the night vision, it's kind of iconic for me, and yeah, there's lots of twists and turns in this movies and lots of great humor. I don't know if I'd say this is underrated. I would put this more as overlooked because I think I've never heard anyone say they don't like Kick-Ass, but you're right. It's never really brought up in the topics of great superhero movies. Brandon?
I would agree with your sentiment of the overlooked, but I do think there is starting to be this backlash against like the indie directors from the early 2010s who produced good action movies but on a smaller budget, such as Kick-Ass. Yeah. I don't know.
Where? When? Who?
Twitter.
Who's saying this?
Twitter.
On Twitter?
Yeah.
Why are you?
No.
Why did
Are
you
you
say
upset?
that like Scooby Doo? Twitter.
On Twitter?
Twitter.
No, but it's like it's weird because it's like the movie is overshadowed, or not overshadowed, but like kind of has taken a hit because of the second one's yeah.
Uh-huh.
What's the word?
Reception.
Reception, thank you. The second one's reception. And over time, I think it hasn't really benefited. I like both films, but I can totally understand why people may not like it. But I don't think it's as like big of a thing as, or it's as underrated as people think it is. Like, yeah, like the critic ratings on it were pretty good. I think it's a great movie, not just a good movie. So maybe like that's just me saying it's underrated for that reason. But on the other hand, I do think Ethan's right. Like, more overlooked because like there are sequences in this movie that are iconic. Like every sequence with Hit Girl, whether she's like as like her actual character in the film, like her or her alter ego, like everything with her is perfect. Because I remember seeing this movie when I was like 11 or 12 years old, like around the time when it first came out, and I rented it like super late at night and fell in love with this movie immediately. I was like, this is like my type of movie.
This was like a defining blockbuster movie. I remember specifically renting this movie, and watching it in my own home. And it's a great time. Love that movie.
Yeah, I mean, like, and I just, yeah, I've noticed that the two of you guys both talked about Hit Girl as a character. I do think, yeah, she, like, Chloe Grace Moretz kind of steals the show of this film, maybe alongside Nicolas Cage as well. But yeah, she does a great job, and like Brandon said, the second one's reception did kind of diminish the value, the preconceived value of the first one. But granted, yes, then again, the Hit Girl character is still a very strong, like piece of, our pop culture. I really like her story about like, being this little girl caught in the middle of like drugs and abuse and crime and the cost of growing up in that kind of environment, and never having a real life, like, well, not a real life, but like a normal life, where she had to grow up with her mom and dad or whatever. Like she was stripped away from that as a kid. And yeah, that's a fascinating character. I would love to see a Kick-Ass 3 or maybe a really well done reboot of this series.
Be a Hit Girl solo movie would be dope.
Honestly, yeah. Chloe Grace Moretz, she's like, she could totally do it too.
She'd rock it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be great.
Yep. But
All right.
yeah, that's my first pick.
Awesome. Kick ass. All right. Brandon, take us into your numero uno. Your numero dos. But take us into your numero uno.
You're getting ahead of yourself, bud.
Yeah, sorry.
My first movie is 2005's Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Here's the reason. Okay, like I know it's not as good as the original.
You're wrong. It's better than the original.
I think it's on par, honestly. I honestly think it takes certain concepts from the original movie and makes it better. And I love the musical numbers in the original movie, and I love them just as much here. They're just as memorable, just as fun, and I love seeing the like wacky visual effects in this Tim Burton-esque world. And I'm not a big Tim Burton fan. Like none of his movies have particularly like wowed me. But Charlie and the Chocolate Factory was one where I was like, wow, that was actually a movie that surprised me. And I saw it when I was a kid, but it's easy to say, well, you saw it as a kid. Does it live up to your expectations or how you feel about it as an adult? And I think it honestly does. Like, yes, like I said, it's a little weirder and a little more different than the original, but damn, it's good.
You two have always been trying to convince me that this is a good movie, but
Not hitting for you?
I can't with Tim Burton's. I don't know. I do not like
Ethan, it's so imaginative.
Post 1995 Tim Burton. It's just, it's so, I don't know. It always feels dated when I think about it. Like I don't like the Danny Elfman score with it. I don't like Johnny Depp as Willy Wonka because it's just so, he's so weird. He's a weirdo.
Well, yeah.
Chris, go ahead and tell him why he's wrong.
Well, I think the main thing that you just said that I have to, I'm gonna say it, disagree with, is the whole Johnny Depp, your critique of Johnny Depp's performance. But like, I really think he did a great job with bringing this new kind of, maybe not the word energy, but like spirit to Willy Wonka. He's no longer this kind of like very like euphoric, dreamlike kind of character. There's a soul and like a human touch to him, as weird as he is. But yes, throughout the film, you get to explore why he is the way he is and why, like, what led him down this path to becoming who he is today. You start with talking about like his relationship with his father and what stemmed from that as his father was a dentist, and maybe this whole chocolate factory thing and his self-professed obsession to rebel against his father's like iron fist as a child. And yeah, like his performance is hella weird. Like, he'll just drift off into space in the middle of a conversation, and like, he has such a uneasy demeanor to him. But like, it's because every time that happens, it stems from his like a memory of his as a child, like coming back to him and haunting him.
Right.
And like like you said, Ethan, kind of like how Paul Blart is actually a pretty tormented character.
No,
Willie,
I'm sorry. You can't.
no.
I was high out of my mind when I watched Paul Blart, and I watched it with Dark Side of the Moon, so you can't use that as...
No, but yeah, Willy Wonka, similarly, as bizarre and weird as he is, there is a humanity beneath that, like, seemingly hollow exterior.
Right. It's like he's stuck in a juvenile state because of his trauma that he experienced at such a young age. Like, he left home early, his dad didn't like what he wanted to do, and I think that's something, like, I think kids could relate to, like, especially coming into the 21st century where there is so much uncertainty about identity politics and stuff like that. And also, like, let's talk about, like, the production design of this movie, how cool everything looks. Like, the candy forest is so much better in this movie than it is in the original, and all of the other rooms in that, like, are so much more detailed and have so much more character. And I know it was the 70s.
They feel so much more fake to me. It feels too fake.
It's a fantasy.
It's
a fantasy.
CGI, but it all feels it's so too CGI. It's too, like, maybe if it came out today and it used CGI, but it's like it looks too fake to me. Like, I never believed in that chocolate factory. The one from the original Chocolate Factory, because that's all, like, practical. Like, I could actually imagine myself going there. This one, I couldn't.
There's a fair amount of practical in this movie, Ethan. I don't think you're giving it enough credit.
Nope.
I will agree that it uses CGI a lot, but I don't think that it's all CG. But yeah, I adore this movie. So yeah, that's my first pick.
Okay. No, this one's just Charlie in the Chocolate Factory, not Willy Wonka. That was the original. All right, so got those two. Boys, I'm happy to say that I have completely changed my picks, all but one, and I think you're gonna agree with me that these are underrated movies, but good movies nonetheless. So, my first pick is a Spielberg movie.
No.
Believe it or not.
I swear to God.
What? It's Duel. No, I'm just kidding. No, it's... So, when I first saw this movie, I didn't like it all that much, if I'm going to be completely honest. I thought it was just... I just thought it was okay. Like, it's an early 2000s Spielberg movie, and people usually don't really appreciate his stuff from then, you know? That's when people start to really think that he was losing his touch, you know?
AI.
But... AI? No, it's not AI. Fuck AI. That's overrated. If we're going to ever do an overrated episode, you damn well know that's going to be on my list. Let me tell you. But, no, this is another Spielberg movie that I recently watched because it's a remake of another movie. I watched the original, and then I watched this one. And that's Steven Spielberg's 2005's War of the Worlds. Now, this... I can't believe how little people talk about this movie and how poorly people think about this movie because of it, you know? In a world where get your toes out of the camera. Get them out of here. I'm being swarmed by feet. What the fuck? Get them out of here. Ah! I'm going to have to, like, edit in a bunch of feet attacking me. In the video, but no, Steven Spielberg's War of the Worlds is quite honestly, it's ahead of its time in terms of its genre. We didn't really see any post 9/11 science fiction movies before this film, so I think a lot of people were uncomfortable with how they felt about how the aliens were depicted and how humanity is overall depicted reacting to this situation. To begin with, it's a very dire film. It's very depressing, and it's honestly horrifying. It's one of the scariest films I've seen. The way he's able to capture these alien attacks and parallel that with, like, how we saw 9/11 go down and everything like that. It feels very personal in that sense. And the basement scene where you first see the aliens is one of the scariest sequences in all of films. Like I said, guys, I don't know if I said this on the podcast before, but my greatest fear is aliens, abductions,
probes, little gray men, and all that stuff. It terrifies the heebie-jeebies out of me. And Spielberg does a good job of not only making you afraid of the alien threat, but also making you afraid of the people reacting to the situation and the anxiety and the anger and the overall the panic that everyone has. It's an amazing film. It's an amazing film. One of Steven Spielberg's top tier pictures. But I see so many people put it at the bottom, and it blows me away. And I think people really need to rewatch this one to understand that War of the Worlds is an underrated pick from Spielberg's filmography. Boys?
Yeah. It's underrated for sure. I mean, I looked at the Rotten Tomatoes audience score, and it's so disparate from the critics score. This critics gave it 75%. So essentially 75% of critics liked it, right? 41% of audiences liked it. That's such a divisive, pair of ratings, Like you see, I do think it's this uncomfortable nature or how it could leave like this sour taste in your mouth afterwards, because I do think the ending for this movie is not very good. I think it is very weak, and I don't think it's all that scary, but like my fear is not the little green men that probe you at night.
Look, they're running across the screen right now. Ah! All right, they're gone.
Oh boy. Almost missed them. But they're not my fear personally, but I can understand why this movie is so cool. Like the first 2 acts of the movie are quintessential like apocalypse movies. Like how people react and the uncertainty behind it, and really captures the mass hysteria that was felt when they did in the 30s or 40s, I can't remember which, when they Orson Welles actually read it on the radio in one part of the U.S., granted, but still it caused chaos in one area, and that's kind of crazy,
I wish I was alive for that.
Yeah. Just laugh.
Imagine me. I would have lost my shit if I heard that. Everybody, get down!
No, I love the first 2 acts of the movie. I really do. I think it's far better than the original, and I like 1950s sci-fi. But I still have questions about the ending of both movies. I think they're both kind of lame.
It's just nature takes control, baby. I don't know what to tell you.
It's dull.
I think this one's better. I think this one is better than the ending of the original. Well, can you give me that one?
Yeah, I could give you that one.
It's a very nihilistic ending. I don't know.
The first one's very convenient.
The first one's convenient, but this one, at least this one makes more sense,
Yeah.
It makes more sense than M. Night Shyamalan's Alien.
Have you guys seen The Mist?
Weaknesses. The Mist?
Yeah.
I want to see The Mist so bad.
It's
The
really
Mist
good.
is a lot like War of the Worlds.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
better. But a better human story, I think.
And it's the cast of Walking Dead.
Essentially, yeah.
Is it really?
Well, there's
Yeah, it
like
is.
5
Well, most
people.
of them.
There's like 5
because like they were collaborators like with the producer or something like that.
like Frank Darabont, I think, directed it after Shawshank, so that's tight.
Oh, okay. Well, I gotta see that one then. But this one, I'd say my only complaints with this one are Justin Chatwin, who plays the son. I don't think he does a very good job.
Yeah, he's kind of a punk.
The guy who played Goku in Dragon Ball Evolution.
He's not in it that much, though.
I know, but even when he is. And then I don't like Spielberg, the cinematography at the beginning of the film when it's like in daytime.
It's like the blown out
It's
like
so
highlights, right?
overexposed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was like a weird thing Spielberg
I'm gonna
did.
disagree with you on that.
In the early 2000s, he did that in Minority Report too, and it just bugs
Yeah.
me.
I agree on Minority Report. It kind of seems like weird for a future to be that blown out. But for this one, I actually think it works a little better. Just because, like, it goes with that 9/11 that he's trying to go for. That, like, kind of, like, disillusioned, smoky haze of, like... And it kind of has, like, that depressing vibe to it. And I kind of dig it. But not for Minority Report.
I agree with you when, like, stuff actually starts happening. But in like the very beginning of the film, when they're like just doing nothing, you know, they're just living their normal lives. Like you can't see Tom Cruise. He's drowned in light and just like, what the hell is going on? I feel like I'm fucking dead.
It's meant to be ominous.
I guess so.
Yeah.
That's true. Okay, but I fucking love this movie, and yeah, that's my first pick, War of the Worlds. Chris, take us into your number 2.
All right. Well, my number 2 is a film that Brent and I actually watched together. It was a rewatch for both of us, but we watched it, I think, in the first semester when we were roommates in sophomore year, and I don't think we've revisited it since. It's a very wonderful movie. I think the three of us were affected by it by our childhoods. It's a 2005 film by Chris Wedge. It's an animated film. It's Robots.
Oh yes!
Yes. Now, all right, what's this movie about? So this movie follows our hero Rodney Copperbottom. I love that name. He's a young robot who really wants to be an inventor, like with all his heart and passion. He really wants to like do that and make the world a better place. But then he goes on a big adventure to the big city, and does everything he can to make it happen. But while he's there, he's confronted by a very corrupt, evil CEO, Ratchet. Ratchet, who now runs his inspirations company, Big Weld Industries. And yeah, it's a great story about like, you know, materialism and friendship and love and community. And honestly, it's just so much fun. Like, it's so innocent. It's like just a wonderful time. The jokes hit really hard. It's just so great. Robin Williams does a great job with his role as Fender. I really love his work here. For me, like, this is like top tier Robin Williams. Like, it's right up there with Genie and Dead Poet Society. Like, it's really good for me. I love Ewan McGregor, Halle Berry, Mel Brooks. Like, the entire cast is pretty great, and like, it's just a very endearing movie. I think that's the word I would use, endearing. But yeah, what do you guys think?
This movie took up a solid year of my life when it first came out. First of all, when I saw it, my parents rented out the theater for me and all my friends to see it, so that made it pretty special. Second of all, I was in love with the GameCube game, Robots for GameCube.
I played like a PC port of that, I think, or something like that.
I remember it was way too hard for me. I don't think I could get past the 5th level because I was 6 years old when I was playing it, but I just loved it. And 3, I had all the action figures. I had every single character in Robots. They did this awesome thing where the toys were like, you could take them apart and you could match them together, you know? You could put their arms on other characters' arms and stuff like that. And that was just like the best. I love the production design of Robots. It's such an interesting mix of modern futurism and retro futurism, you know? And it's such a pleasant film to look at. It's got great characters, great voice acting. Ewan McGregor, come on. And Robin Williams, as you said, this is one of his best vocal performances. And last thing I gotta say, Robots 2005 has, bar none, you can't argue it has the greatest fart joke of all time.
Yes, it absolutely does. It really does.
It's a visual fart joke, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, maybe for all you YouTube viewers, I'm gonna just toss it in right here.
Hey kids, get a load of this!
Daddy, we were using our arms.
Excuse me.
Lady, please. See a doctor.
You can watch it out of context, and it's just so fucking funny.
It really, like, the jokes really don't get old, do they?
No, I don't think they do. And it's a very Marxist film. You know,
Yes,
it's
it
very
really is.
anti-capitalist, which nowadays I'm all for. I love it. You know.
Yeah, that's fire.
Yeah, just something about mixing Marxism with like futurism and robots and stuff like that. There's nothing better. And yeah, this is a fucking solid animated film. I love
Yeah.
it. Brandon.
All right,
what do you
Brandon.
think?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
All right.
No,
So actually,
no, I think
how many times have we done that to you on this show?
a lot.
Yeah, because you always start like your opinion with like 2 words, and then you go for a pause.
And you pause. All right, let's hear you out, bud. What do you have to say?
I like this movie. I think it's aged well. I really do. I think it tackles classism really well, like it's like a shrinking middle class and the difference between the suburbs and the big city, which is really interesting to me. For me, like I think it lost a half star from when I rewatched it with Chris, but I still like the movie, and I think it has aged really well in terms of its themes and the bomb cast. Like, there's so many great like people in this movie, like Robin Williams, Ewan McGregor. I'm hesitant to say like Jennifer Coolidge and Amanda Bynes are like great names, but back then they were, you know.
Mel Brooks.
Yeah, Mel
Isn't he
Brooks.
Bigwell?
Yeah, he's Bigwell, and like Greg Kinnear as his dad. It's great, you know. It's like for kids it doesn't matter, but for us now as adults who are looking back, it's a great cast, you know. And it plays so well, and the comedy's like kind of the weakest part, but like I do really enjoy the story. It's got heart. It's about like the discarded pieces of society and coming together. Like Chris said, it's very much about community and family, and that plays into its greater themes about cast. And it has a great ending too, like great musical ending that's very upbeat and joyous as it tries to be optimistic about the future they're heading towards.
It's a very positive film about equal opportunity, which I like, you know, which goes into like its Marxist themes. And yeah, great pick. Ooh, yeah, I'm liking this. I'm liking this. All right, Brandon, do you want to take us into your number 2 film of underrated films?
By the way, I forgot to say that my first film had a 51% audience rating on Rotten Tomatoes, which was Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Which
Looks like I'm in that 49.
yeah, so you're wrong.
I'm still technically in the minority, I guess.
Yeah,
which is why it's not an underrated film. Just kidding.
I hate you.
All right.
My next film is a 2006 film. It has a 43% critic rating on Rotten Tomatoes. It's a childhood favorite of mine and a bunch of kids I know. It's Night at the Museum, starring Ben Stiller.
Wow.
That is an incredible movie.
It's so I had I thought I had appendicitis during this movie, but it was actually constipation. But regardless,
I forgot that. Can we tell the story? Can we
tell the story?
Do you want to tell it?
I'll tell it because it's my story. I was sitting in the theater for Night at the Museum, and I was just like, I had my popcorn, I had my soda, and we were like a half hour into, or maybe 15 minutes into the movie. And I was like, I'm not feeling so good. I'm going to go outside. And I told my parents that, and they're like, are you going to go to the bathroom? I'm like, no, I don't really feel like I need to. And then I'm standing outside. My dad comes out, and he's like, dude, what's wrong? You've been out here for like 10 minutes. And I'm like, I don't know. And he's like, he was really concerned. And then he's like, all right, run around, jump. And when I jumped, I felt better. And they thought, oh, shit, this kid has appendicitis. So my dad got my mom and my sister out of the theater and, like, ran to, like, the desk and were like, they had me in their hands. And I was like, hello to the person. And they were like, can we get, like, tickets for, like, later, like, readmits? He's having appendicitis, we think. And so we rushed to the, like, emergency room, and they're like, nah, he's just backed up. And they gave me laxatives. So.
He's just real bunged up.
Okay, like, that's already a very funny story. But I think my favorite part of this story is that you were like having appendicitis, and your mom and dad went to the counters like, can we get like $10 back, please? I totally get it. But I just find it so funny that, like, in the middle of this like medical emergency, that's what's on their mind.
I know, right? But back to Night at the Museum. It's such a solid kids movie, and I was rewatching stuff before our podcast, and honestly, like, the slapstick really works, and I'm not a big fan of slapstick. Robin Williams gives a great performance. I guess that's the theme for today, like good Robin Williams performances in kids movies.
Yeah, I guess so.
But I just think it's incredibly underrated. It has so much heart. Shout out to Jake Cherry at Chapman. He was in this. And not only that, it's such an imaginative concept to bring to life and get kids interested in history. Like, history coming alive at night at a museum. Yes, it's a little like Toy Story and a little bit like Secret Life of Pets, but who cares? This is like a physical, like you're there and you're with the historical figures. It's so cool.
If anything, Secret Life of Pets is like this movie. How dare you? I don't think anyone's looked at Night at the Museum like, too much like Secret Life of Pets. That one's really better.
I don't think that's...
Listen, Kevin Hart is the bunny. Nothing can beat it. Nothing can beat it.
No, you know what I mean.
Get Robin Williams out. Get Steve Coogan out of here. Get Owen Wilson out of here.
You know what I mean.
Kevin Hart
You
is
know
the
what I
bunny.
mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean. But yeah, it's a great concept. This was like... This came out during the holidays, didn't it? I feel like...
It's like a Christmas movie, yeah.
Yeah. I think I remember seeing it during Christmas because, like, right before Christmas, we'd come down here to Orange County, actually, and go Christmas shopping and stay at a hotel and stuff like that. And we would go to this one theater every year, and there'd be, like, the kids' Christmas movie, and that was this year. And I have such fond memories of watching it. I don't know if I'd say if the movie's great, but I think it's good. I think it's pretty good. And I've never met someone who said that they didn't like this movie. You know, I'm shocked by that audience rating or that critic score.
That was the critic score, but the audience score was much higher. It was like 70%, which is, I think that's like a lot of people enjoyed it, and then like some people just didn't enjoy it because they weren't kids at the time. But like even now, I think it kind of lives up, and it's much better than the sequels. And I mean, like, it feels so wholesome. Of course, like, the people want to like leave the museum. I just think it's so fascinating. I wish there were more movies like this today, to be honest.
Yeah. Chris, what do you think? Night at the Museum.
I remember just like, yeah, kind of similar maybe to like you, Ethan, where robots kind of took over your life for... That sounds really funny, actually. When robots
took over my life. It's like an Alex Jones bit. Goddamn robots, they come over here and they're taking over our lives. They're getting into the brains of little children. Ship everything to China. Boop, 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 boop.
But yeah, like a movie taking over your life for like a certain amount of time. Like, I kind of think I had this with Night at the Museum. Like, it was just, the concept itself is incredible, and like the way it's done is like you see it through the eyes of Ben Stiller. It's not like you're in the joke, and like, sorry, it's not like you're in on the joke. You're just as confused as Ben Stiller is up until he figures it out. And I mean, like, you know, you've got like Owen Wilson as a cowboy. You've
Steve
got like
Coogan as the Roman soldier.
Yeah, as the Roman that hates
Those
him.
two are always my favorites.
They're so funny. And like, you know, you've got Robin Williams as, was that Roosevelt?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got Rami Malek as
like
King Tut or something.
King Tut, whatever.
Yeah.
King something. And like, oh my god, the Mongols. That's so funny. But my favorite exhibit in the entire museum, it's not even Rex the dinosaur. It's
the Easter Island head.
It's what?
The Easter Island head. That one's
No.
gum.
Yeah, wait, no, is that what it's called? Yeah. Dum dum,
Yeah.
you give me gum gum.
Gum.
It's too funny. And like, yeah, this is just like a genuinely just adventurous, fun, simple, but nonetheless like enthralling movie to watch. That fucking monkey is amazing, by the way.
Yeah. Crystal the monkey's best performance. Hands down.
Yeah, as Dexter.
I'm here for it.
There's a storm coming,
absolutely.
Dexter. It's the only quote I remember from this movie.
No, the monkey smacking bit is amazing.
It's hilarious.
Why are you slapping the monkey? Oh.
Oh, this guy's been pushing me, and I'm sick of it.
I love it.
Paul Rudd is in this movie?
Is he? Who does he play?
Is he the stepdad?
He plays Don. Is that the stepdad?
I think it's the kid's stepdad.
I'm gonna quick fact check this.
Yeah. It says that. Oh yeah, he is the stepdad.
Yeah, he is.
Wow.
Paul Rudd is one
Watch
of
this movie, boys.
Yeah.
We
yeah,
should
definitely
watch
do.
the entire trilogy together.
It's a
I've
solid
only seen the
trilogy.
first two.
I
haven't
think
seen
the
I've seen-
first two are good. I'm not big on the third one. I don't
The
think it's a
third
bad
is
movie.
It definitely is one of those trilogies that progressively gets worse, but it's still okay.
Yeah, I could see that. Okay, that was my number 2.
Yep.
I'm pretty certain my number 3 is going to be a hit.
Yeah.
Yeah, with all of you.
Well, let's find out.
Okay. Let's find
All right.
out. Well, first we got to
Ethan.
go to my number 2.
Yep.
Now, my number 2 is, I know you guys both like this film. I know Brandon loves this movie. I just recently watched it because I thought people hated this movie, so I didn't see it in theaters, and I waited until now to see it. One of the most divisive movies I've ever seen, Darren Aronofsky's Mother. How do you
Yeah.
pronounce this movie? Everyone go around. How do you pronounce this movie? Because it's a lowercase m, but it has an exclamation mark at the end. So is it Mother? Not
No.
Mother. You know.
No, it's Mother. No, it's Mother. There you go.
Well, no, because that signifies that it has a capital at the end. You gotta start soft. You know, like
Mother. No, it's Mother.
Mother. You gotta extend that mother.
Okay, well, Ethan.
All right, so that's my second pick. No. Let me get into it. I had no idea what this movie was about
Same. Same here, bud.
going in, and I don't think most people still don't know what this movie is about, which is why they hated it. You know?
Yeah.
Mother is. People don't know that, like, what that movie is about. For me, it was so easy. Like, I picked up
Yeah.
on it, like, immediately, and I loved it. It was such a amazing message in such a dark fucking movie.
I kind of don't want to. I kind of don't really want to like go in depth about what this movie is about, you know, because for those who haven't seen it, I think like the surprise of figuring out. All I'm saying is like, it has a lot to do with like, if you're gonna watch this movie, pay attention to like its themes of religion and how that has its effect on our planet, you know. And it's crazy how Darren Aronofsky like presents this. It's one of the most dreamlike movies I felt. You know, one of the most dreamlike movies I've seen, where it's just like you feel like you're in Jennifer Lawrence's body, like having no control whatsoever about what's going on, and just sheer panic.
Yeah. Jennifer's
About-
body.
Jennifer's body, being in Jennifer's body. That will not be on this list, I'll tell you.
Oh,
I actually like that movie, but I
do
don't
too.
know.
It's actually pretty good. Yeah.
I don't know if it's underrated, but I liked it. But yeah, like it is the most anxiety-inducing film. My dad, when he recommended it to me, he's like, I've never felt like this before in my life except for in dreams. Like, Ethan, you gotta just check it out. And I was like, all right, Papa, I'll watch it with you. And he was right. He was right. There's like, you feel absolutely powerless in this movie. This movie beats you down to the ground until you want to hate just everything.
I had a very similar experience to you with this movie.
Yeah?
Like I remember freshman year, and this is where I kind of have stopped supporting some film production people who, because they don't like this movie, and that's part of the reason why I didn't see it for the longest time. As like I remember people being like, well, I don't even know what it's about. Like, it was kind of a mess. And I was like, well, maybe you're right. So I didn't check it out. And then when I saw it, I was like, this is like brilliant. It's a parable about religion, like you said. It's a parable about humanity being dickish.
I wouldn't say about a religion. I would say organized religion. You know, because there's a difference between
That's
having
fair.
faith
That's fair.
and like, I don't know, following people who you believe will give you meaning in your life, you know?
Yeah, but it's such a strange cast too. Like it's got Javier Bardem and Jennifer Lawrence, which is weird already. And then like Kristen Wiig is in it, Donald Gleason. It's just Michelle Pfeiffer. Like none of those
Donald
names.
Gleason.
Yeah,
Here for
none.
a second.
None of them are like fit together in a movie. Like it doesn't
Ed
really
Harris?
seem right. Yeah, like it doesn't seem right. And then like
Michelle
everything.
Pfeiffer, like what?
It's one of those.
crazy.
It's like Uncut Gems and After Hours, where everything is like just going wrong and you can't do anything about it, and you're like so stressed out about it because you're invested in the situation because it starts out so calm and peaceful and loving, and then it slowly turns dark, and then once it does go that direction, it's just so surreal. Like your dad said,
devastating.
it's kind of like, was he referring to like Akira Kurosawa's dreams or just dreaming in general?
Just like the dream state that you have when you're asleep.
No, definitely that, because like it feels like events are just happening, and some people may say, well, the acting was stale and things were bad because of that. But like I don't think that's the case. I just felt like I was like transfixed on this character and this what was happening, and I just adore this movie. Like I don't understand why people hate it.
I would say the acting did not feel real. It felt surreal. You know? It's not supposed to feel real. Like you're supposed to feel like you're in this weird dream state, you know? And that's what I love about it. Chris, what do you think?
Yeah, Brandon, you were talking previously about like the like quote unquote like film production like major like general consensus that this film received. And it was a very divisive film when it came out, I believe, because I think this was like kind of a, if you will, like sobering film for a lot of film students in the sense of like, oh wow, like you can have movies that like might be a little bit more, it sounds pretentious to say, but challenging of a watch. You know, it's not just in your face immediate thematics. Like there's actually depth, and you need to dissect and think about it. It destabilizes the way you think, and you know, changes your opinion and maybe like challenges things. But yeah, this was a very, very like, you know, like I think the word I would use is like volatile watch for me. Like when I watched it, I was actually with a bunch of film production people.
Yeah.
So, and I remember very distinctly, it was just me and I think 3 or 4 other people in a row. And there was one guy by himself in this theater sitting like maybe 2 rows down from us. No one else in the theater. The moment the credits rolled, we like, you know, like I was like kind of just like holy shit, like that was a lot. I need to take it in. I need to think about it. And I think like all the other film productions were either like weirded out or similar to me in that sense. And then this guy who was sitting in front of us, he literally just stands up, turns around. He's got like a penguin beanie on, and he's like, he points at the screen like he looks drunk out of his mind. He's like, "What the fuck was that?" And I think that's kind of like a testament to like, yeah, this is what this movie is, and like it's confusing, but like not necessarily in like a bad way. Like you could get lost, but there's a deep inner meaning here about like like you said, organized religion, and the effect it has on our planet, and particularly on the environment. It of course depends on the way in which you read this film, whether you read like Jennifer Lawrence's character as Mother Earth, or you know, Javier Bardem as God, you know, like the what's his name, Abel and Cain, the 2 sons,
Cain and Abel.
or Cain and Abel, yeah, as like, you know, that's a pretty obvious reference, I think.
Right,
And
I
Adam
thought it
and
was
Eve.
really easy. But like
Yeah.
I know like our generation isn't religious, and I don't think any of us are particularly, but it's like a reference that usually people would get, right?
Yeah.
I know, like, yeah, Cain and Abel, like, I mean, like, yeah, obviously not as popular, if you will, of a story as, like, say, the birth of Jesus or Adam and Eve, but,
yeah.
like, you know, but the Cain and Abel, people kind of know who that is, I feel like.
You know what I would think would be a good appetizer to Mother? Is First Reformed.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
think that's...
Oh, yeah,
or
those are
after.
compliment.
Or after.
No, I think First Reformed kind of spells it out better. And I think once you get what that movie's about,
Yeah.
and then you go into this movie, I feel like you'd grasp the themes more, you know?
Okay,
Yeah, and then
so
you-
for
you
our
follow-
religious
you-
movies.
And then
For religious movies?
for religious, yeah, and then you follow that with Chicken Little, and then you've got the best religious
Yes.
trilogy ever made.
Movie about false prophets, Chicken
No,
Little.
you're forgetting God's Not Dead too. Come on. No,
Oh,
just-
yeah. And A Dog's
yeah.
Purpose.
And Breakthrough.
Oh, God.
That would be
Okay.
a chaotic marathon right there.
No, but like it's I don't know. It's you pop all those posters up when you do that, Ethan. When you edit this episode.
Have fun with that. That's a lot.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll do it.
All right. Well, yeah, great movie. Underrated as hell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Chris. Let's get into the final round here.
All right.
Take
Well,
it to 3.
this is a very special movie to me. This is one of my favorite comedies ever made. Brandon and I saw it together. 2018 film. Kay Cannon directed. Blockers.
Shit.
Now,
Blockers.
all right. This is a
Overlooked. I don't know, underrated. We'll see.
I don't know, but like I feel like people know about this movie. But okay, let me get into what this movie's about. Basically, there are these 3 girls. They're headed off to college soon, and they're in their senior year of high school. And prom night's just around the corner. And oh wow, 50% audience score.
That's
Yeah.
terrible.
That's pretty awful.
That's
crazy.
But okay, but yeah, so it's their senior year. They they're heading off to college, and prom's right around the corner, and they decide, you know what? Prom night. We're headed off to college. We're gonna go a little crazy. We're gonna have some fun. But the main thing is, we want to lose our virginity tonight on prom night. And this movie is about their parents finding out about this and deciding we're gonna cock block them. Hence, Blockers. Now, when you go into this film, obviously your first thought is like, oh, shitty, like by the books, like boring story about like, just dumb comedy. I mean, it's when you hear John Cena comedy, it's not exact. Quality is probably not the first word you think of.
You think
but
Playing with Fire from 2019.
exactly. That's the kind of shit you think of, right? But Brand and I went to the theater, like the Felino Theater, which is our school's theater, packed theater. Everyone was just having a great time, and like, the movie is actually like really, really like endearing and sweet. It's a hilarious movie. There's so many great jokes, quotable from start to end, but there's also like a great story about like coming of age, learning to let go as a parent and learn to loosen your reins a little. And like friendship and the dynamic of that, your relationship with your significant other. But I've actually spoken to Tori about this. It's also a very well, it's not the main story of the film, but there's actually a very strong LGBT underlying story here.
Definitely.
One of the girls, I forgot her name. It's not Julie. Is it Sam? Yeah, Sam. Her story as like a girl grappling with her sexuality, it's humorously played, but it's still articulate enough that there is actually something to be said about that. Mm-hmm. And just like, this is a very sweet and endearing, but monstrously hilarious film. And I always have a blast watching this movie. All the jokes hit every single time. John Cena proves to me in this film that he can deliver great comedy. And I'm excited to see, hopefully he can do some more of that sometime. I love his action films, but you know what? I'd love to see more comedy from him. So yeah.
I
That's
think
Blockers.
this would have been a great pick in our twists movie, in our twists episode, because it's like the 80s high school comedy with people, this is our night, we're gonna have sex, you'd think of this premise with like dudes, but there's a twist where it's,
Wait, sorry. I just love your idea of like 80s parties is we're gonna get drunk and have sex.
you'd be surprised, man. You'd be fucking surprised about how many movies are about that, Like,
Yeah, okay.
but they twist it with female leads, but it's also a very like safe sex film. It's all about that. It's about being responsible, and yeah, it's like it's a great film to watch from both the perspective of the parents and the kids. And like you said, the LGBTQ aspect is great. It's great. I was in class when this movie premiered at our school, so I didn't get to see it. I went and saw it at the Cinemark with an empty theater, and I think that's probably why I didn't find it as funny as you two. I don't think all the jokes landed for me, but I appreciated all its themes and stuff. And I think it's a very good. I hope this gets discovered as something that's like, a defining comedy of the 2010s. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you said you saw it, in a pretty empty theater, and like, Brand and I, we saw in a packed theater with college kids.
Yeah.
So, do the math. But like, I mean, like to this day, this and Avengers Endgame are my top two theater going experiences ever. Like just the energy of that room. Like Bad Boys for Life is like 5.
Yeah.
This is like a 30.
Wow.
It was
Oh,
Yeah,
pretty
that's
shit.
pretty crazy.
And that's from somebody who thought it was going to be dog shit going in. Because I thought
Yeah.
I'd seen the trailers for this, and I immediately jumped to they're just trying to rehash the same old story about high schoolers trying to lose their virginity and with the parents trying to stop that from happening, which is not an inherently bad concept. Like, it works for American Pie, but they didn't the parents weren't involved. But this is the tale of two movies, one that's really grounded about these girls and their friendship together, as well as their goal to reach this peak point in their life, because some people look at it like that. And then you have the parent story, which is very hilarious, and yes, at the end, very endearing, unexpectedly, because the first half of the movie, it's a bunch of these A+ gags and ones that you're not really expecting to be as good as they are. And I will say this again, movies like this benefit from an R rating, and I'm glad that they didn't cheap out and go with a PG-13 to get a wider audience, because I don't think the comedy would have worked as well. I think they would have it would have taken away some of the fun of being a teenager, because this really does capture what it's like to be a teenager in the 2010s. I felt that. I felt immensely connected to this movie. It felt insanely real. And it was one of my most watched movies of the year, because when it came out, I loved this movie so much that I watched it like 3 or 4 times in 1 week. And I'm not the type to like rewatch movies willy-nilly, as you guys know. Like I do occasionally like sit down and have a week where I rewatch stuff because it's easy. But like this movie just really impacted me. And I love the LGBT stuff. I love the relationship between the parents and their kids. I mean, it's just across the board a really good movie. It was on my list to put here, but I was like, I don't know. I don't know if I would really want to put that yet, because it's only been 2 years since it came out. So,
Okay, there we go. Blockers. Brandon, where'd he go? Where'd he go? Oh, there he is. He disappeared. I was because I'm taking notes on all the films we were picking, so I looked at the computer and then I looked back and he was just fucking gone. Brandon,
boo.
take us into your final. Boo. Ah! Take us into your final.
All right,
underrated
I
flick.
chose a comedy. I was shocked. I was shocked by the audience rating on this. 57% rotten audience rating. Walk Hard. It's a Cock Story.
Double stack, baby.
Oh, you guys, I was literally Blockers. It like on my document, Walk Hard is right next to Blockers. It almost was our first triple stack.
Oh yeah. Oh
This
my god.
movie, Ethan introduced it to me, and I had never heard of this movie before. And I get around. I know movies, okay? And I usually you've heard of all the best comedies from the 2000s, and when you were a kid, like, you saw them, you know? That's how it is. Like, you saw Talladega Nights. You even saw the shitty Adam Sandler ones, like Click. Oh, anyway, Walk Hard is, like, liked by audiences, or not by audiences, by critics, but it is absolutely trashed on by people, and I have no idea why. This is a great dissection of the music industry and about the biopic as a genre, because it started to come around again.
It sort of ruined the biopic for me.
Right.
Yeah, like
It's
Bohemian and Rocket Man
They're
are
the exact
screwed.
same movie, and this movie came out first, and it parodies everything that Bohemian Rhapsody does.
Yes, exactly. And the thing is like, Walk Hard is it's a great movie on its own. Like, Chris and I, we introduced Chris to it a little later, because I don't think he was there for whenever we did the movie night for some reason.
Right.
But when we introduced Chris to it, like, he was like, that's not just like a good movie, like a good comedy. It's a good movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it has emotional sections to it that work because of like your connection to Dewey, and the jokes in this movie, some of the best jokes I've ever heard in a movie. Like, better than Blockers, not because the slapstick in Blockers is far better, but like the puns in this movie and the little one-liners in this movie, and even
Wrong
some of
kid
like
died.
yeah, the visual gags too,
Yes,
iconic stuff. Like the sinks.
sinks.
Yes,
Oh,
like
The Six. Oh my God. the
it's
Six.
so exaggerated, melodramatic. It takes apart the biopic. It takes apart the parody genre that was dying at the time, and it really mixes
Yeah.
them. And it's so fresh, and it shocks me. I know this movie isn't going to be as loved as like by anybody else as it is us, but it shocks me that it doesn't get enough attention.
Dude. Oh, I thought this was going to be a triple stack because last week we were talking about this movie, and then that's when we came up with the idea to do underrated movies, and I'm like, I don't care if we all pick this movie, I'm still going to put it on my list. It's And You Never Paid for Drugs.
Not once.
It's just such great performances. John C. Reilly is one of my favorite actors of all time, and he just excellently captures this idiot musician and the life. And I need people to watch this movie more because I was shocked. I watched this on my laptop in my dorm in freshman year, and it was like a religious moment, where I was like, what the fuck? How has nobody told me about this movie before? So then I told Brandon, and then we watched this movie, and then we told Chris, and then we watched this movie. So now our goal, guys, is we have to get the rest of the group. We have to get everybody. Now that we have a public platform, everyone watch Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story.
Has Joey seen it?
Yes, he saw it
Oh
recently.
yeah, he
did.
just saw it recently.
What did he think? Did he like
I
it?
think gave it
He
a
liked
4.
it. He gave it 4 stars.
Honestly,
But
I've seen a lot of people watch it lately on Letterboxd, like people that I follow or people who follow me, and like everybody's given it above like a 3.5 or 4. And the fact that
Yeah.
it's like you didn't see that originally, and you're seeing this resurgence now, like over, I think it's like 10 years old, right? Yeah, it's like 13. So now that you're seeing that resurgence, I'm really happy.
Yeah, and oh my God, the music in this movie. I love the songs that they.
It's so good. Even the
they're
shit
funny,
song.
and
Even the
they're pretty
shitty-
catchy.
Yeah, like for example, like my favorite songs are definitely the big finale, "Beautiful Ride," and "Let's Do It," duet.
So good.
Really funny songs. But like even like the shitty like it's like meant to be like an
bad
impression
song.
of someone, or it's actually meant to be a bad song, but it's just so executed like hilariously that I can listen to that all the time.
His
Yeah.
his like Beatles or Beach Boys like kick, when he's in the studio by himself and kind of separates from his group for a little bit. That song, which is supposed to be so bad, is actually kind of good. Like, I caught myself over the summer listening to it on car rides that I would take. and that, not only that, it's like, it's parodying very well-known musicians and work, like Bob Dylan and Roy Orbison and
The Beatles.
Johnny Cash and the Beatles and the Beach Boys. And these are all bands from that classic rock bands that are excellent in their own right. But he still does a great job,
Yeah. Oh man, I'm glad we're finally having a platform to gush about Walk Hard, and yeah, there's not much else to be said. You said it beautifully, Brandon, just beautifully, and that's also my last film. So look at that, double stack. There we are. All right, let's run down our films before we decide on what our quintessential stack's gonna be. So Chris, do you want to kick us off on stacks? Underrated films, film stacks.
All right, so my movies were Kick-Ass, Robots, and Blockers.
Brandon.
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Night at the Museum, and Walk Hard.
And mine was War of the Worlds. Mother! And Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story.
Okay, so
Dewey Cox, Walk
yeah,
Hard.
Dewey Cox
obviously
has to
on
be
there.
there.
yeah,
Yes.
Chris wouldn't argue with that, I don't think.
No, I have no problem with that. I gave that movie 5 stars. That has to be on
It
the
needs
list.
to be in your top 25, Chris. It might make it in there eventually. I
One
think
day it
will.
might. I don't
Yeah.
know.
I got a pitch.
Okay.
I got a pitch. There's no order for this yet, but I really like the Robots pick. I really like Robots. Walk Hard, of course, has got to be on there because it's a double stack. And then Because I honestly think more people need to watch that movie now more than ever. You know? There's such a big cult mentality going around. And
I agree with
using
Mother.
religion as excuse to destroy the planet. And I just people did not get this movie when they saw it. I'm sorry. People need to rewatch it. They need to see what's going on here, you know?
The fuck
And
is going on here?
That's my pitch.
I don't like
There
it.
those. You don't like it? All right.
I like Mother and Walk Hard, but I think because they're just such different movies. Like, you've got the
Yeah.
parody and biopic dissection, and then you've got the dark drama. And I like that you're going for the kids' movie, like in Robots, to kind of bridge the gap a little bit. Although I don't know if there really is a gap to bridge, because like neither Mother or Walk Hard are particularly like moderate for like teens. Like, I'd recommend a teen to watch it, but like I know parents might not. So it might be awkward to transition with that. Also, like I said, I'm not as big of a fan of Robots as you guys are. So I'd be willing to make a swap for that. So any movie, but I like the Mother and Walk Hard choice because I agree more people need to watch those. They're severely underrated, especially by audiences.
How would you feel about switching out Robots for Kick-Ass?
But that
I just
one,
don't see that movie as underrated.
yeah, I think that one's a little overlooked. I think that's the only choice of the 8 that we had that to me was like very good and it was received well. And I think, yes, it has been dampened by time because of like the vast barrage of superhero movies we have. But I don't think it's underrated. I think it's like right about where it should be. So I'm saying either we replace Robots with Night at the Museum or Blockers.
I would say Blockers just because I like that movie more. And I also think like, you know, if we're talking about like more contemporary issues when we picked Mother, I feel like Blockers is also a very apt film for today.
Okay.
And
I don't
Walk
know,
Hard
what-
is too.
Yeah, Walker.
You know
is too.
why?
Why?
The industry.
Because it critiques the current film environment. And
Yes.
it did it 10 years ago. 10 years ago.
The writer was writing is like, all right, in 10 years, this is gonna be a masterpiece.
Here's what I'm saying. Walk Hard critiques the entertainment industry. Blockers critiques societal structures, like in terms of like family. And then Mother does the same thing, but with religion and class.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm here for that.
All right. I'm down with that.
What's the order?
What is the order?
Should
I
we
don't
go
know if you
maybe
want to
from
start
like
with Mother.
like
or
most
end with
appropriate
Mother,
for
rather.
most appropriate for kids and just move along?
None of them are.
I don't know if
for
any of these
children.
are.
Yeah, okay, none of these are appropriate for kids.
I don't know. I think maybe we should should we escalate it to make it more insane? Maybe. So we start with Blockers, like that's a grounded comedy,
For the most part.
and then the Walk Hard, which gets a bit more ridiculous, you know.
But there's some
then-
realism to it.
Yeah. And then Mother, which is just full blown insano.
And
Yeah.
then people just go to bed with their mind.
Or
like,
should we go? Let's go more underrated. How about that? Which I think the order would still be the same: Blockers, Walk Hard, and then Mother.
The only problem I have with that is like, do you really want to end your marathon with Mother? Because you're gonna be anxious after you finish Mother. You need something to bring you down a little bit.
There is a noticeable like incline of like intensity. You know, Blockers is pretty digestible.
I agree with
You
that.
know, Walk Hard is like a little bit not challenging, but like a little bit more, and then Mother is off the fucking rails.
Though Walk Hard has a great ending.
It
That
does.
could
That's
be a
true.
great grand finale. I think. How about Blockers, Mother, and Walk Hard? So it separates the comedies, and also ends with a banger.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like
Yep.
Okay. All right. Let's run it down. Let's do it. Let's run it down. What this is Stacked. The Stacked official underrated movies 3-film stack. Kick it off, Chris.
So our first film is a 2018 comedy called Blockers. It follows 3 parents as they try and stop their kids from losing their virginity. A very wonderful, endearing, and just hilarious film all the way through.
And our second film is Darren Aronofsky's Mother, which is an insane, dreamlike film that critiques how defining your whole existence around prophets and their word can lead to seriously damaging our home, and it will make you pull out your hair. It'll make you cry. It'll make you scream. It's just a super underrated film. People were too harsh on it because they didn't get it. Mother.
And our last film is Walk Hard, a Dewey Cox story. A great musical, a great dissectional piece of cinema that tackles just why the music industry and the entertainment industry is so repetitive and what's so funny about it. You didn't pay for drugs. Not once.
Not once.
And you never paid for drugs.
You never pay for drugs.
And you never paid for drugs.
Not once.
And that's our stacked.
And that's it. That's it, everybody. Wait, before we end this, I gotta say, do you know who directed Walk Hard? Jake Kasdan, son of Lawrence Kasdan, and director of the 2 Jumanji movies.
Makes sense. To be
Whoa,
honest.
what the?
He's got a quality, underrated filmography.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And he directed a film called Orange County.
Oh, I still have to see that. It's got Jack Black and Justin Long in it, I think. Or Colin Hanks.
Colin Hanks, Jack Black. Yeah.
I can't wait to see that.
Anyways, that's it. That's all for our underrated films. Guys, I implore all of you out there to check out this final stack. I think this is a solid... I would recommend this final stack more than any others. It's so good. Like, come on, watch these movies.
Get a group of friends together and watch all these. Or don't do that.
I think these are all really good friend movies. Honestly, to see it with a big group of friends. Because, like, you get the 2 comedies that you guys can laugh and, like, share memorable lines over with. And then Mother is a good film for you all to just be like, what the fuck just happened? Like, and a good movie to create a discussion over, you know?
I agree.
Yeah. Check out all these films. And check us out here on Stacked. Remember, every Friday, 10 a.m., new episodes. Stacked dropping out on Spotify, YouTube, Anchor, Apple Podcasts. Everywhere you can listen to a podcast, we're there waiting for you to listen to us.
We're waiting.
Great. We're waiting. We're waiting for you. And yeah, that'll do it for this week. Is there a little closing theme we want to...
And you never paid for drugs. Not once.